Part 3. The Betrayal Within. The moment trust shatters and everything falls apart. The silence that followed was suffocating. The screech of the tires was all that broke through the tension, the getaway car's engine roaring as Evan floored the accelerator, speeding through the empty streets. His heart raced, and his mind, still reeling from the chaos of the heist gone wrong, couldn't catch up. They had barely made it out of the building alive, and now, with Maria gone, everything they had worked for, the plan, the diamond, their future, was slipping through their fingers. Part 3. The Betrayal Within. The moment trust shatters and everything falls apart. Evan's hands gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white from the pressure. Sophie and Leo sat in the back, the weight of their shared shock settling over them. Sophie's face was pale, her hands shaking, but her eyes were fiery with anger. Leo, ever the stoic one, was quietly fuming, but there was a look of defeat in his eyes that Evan couldn't ignore. "What now?" Leo finally spoke, breaking the silence. Evan glanced over at him, his jaw clenched. "We get the diamond. Maria's gone, but we can still pull this off." His voice was more confident than he felt. "We're not done yet." Sophie let out a bitter laugh from the back seat. "You think that after all of this, we're just going to waltz back in and grab the diamond? After Maria sold us out? You've got to be kidding me." Evan's grip tightened on the wheel, the reality of their situation crashing down on him. Sophie was right. Maria had sabotaged everything. What had once been a perfect heist was now a disaster of epic proportions. They had barely escaped with their lives, and the police were closing in, no doubt hunting them down. The diamond, his prize, was still inside that building, still under the watchful eye of the authorities, and Maria had vanished without a trace. He had trusted her. He had trusted her with everything. But now, that trust had been shattered into 1,000 pieces. Why did she do it? Evan muttered to himself, more to fill the oppressive silence than to ask anyone in particular. Why turn on us now? What did she get out of it? "I don't know," Sophie responded bitterly. "But I have a guess. She was never just a driver, Evan. She was more involved than you think." Evan's heart skipped. "What are you saying?" Sophie leaned forward in her seat, her voice low, as though she had been holding this back for far too long. "I think Maria was working with the cops before we even started this job. She knew what we were planning. Hell, she probably helped them get us. She knew exactly what to tell them, when to make her move. She's been playing us all along." Evan was speechless, the words hitting him harder than any punch. Maria. The one person he had trusted above all others, the one who had always been there when they needed her? She had been playing them from the start. It didn't make sense. They had been a team. They had been invincible. But now, as the pieces of the puzzle started to come together, he couldn't deny it. Maria had been too perfect, too calm. She had never faltered, never shown a single crack in her armor. And now, as the realization set in, Evan understood. She had known. She had always known. She had been part of the plan all along, but not the plan they had written. It had been her plan from the start. Sophie's words echoed in his mind. "She's been playing us all along." "But why?" Evan asked again, his voice quieter this time. "Why sell us out like this? Was it the diamond? Did she want it for herself?" Sophie shook her head. "No. It wasn't the diamond. Maria wanted out, Evan. She wanted a clean break. And she was tired of playing the game. I think she saw this as her way to finally leave. The cops promised her immunity in exchange for handing us over." The weight of her words sank in. Maria had been in it for herself all along. She had used them, no, she had manipulated them, to get what she wanted. And now she was free, while they were left to pick up the pieces of a shattered plan. "What now?" Leo asked again, his voice steady but filled with the same frustration that Evan felt. "We can't go back to the building. The cops will be everywhere. Evan clenched his jaw, his mind racing. He couldn't let it end like this. He couldn't let Maria win. "We don't need to go back," Evan said, his voice low but filled with a new, dangerous resolve. "We'll get the diamond another way." Sophie and Leo exchanged a glance, both sensing the shift in Evan's tone. The fire in his eyes had returned, the fire that had once made him a formidable thief. The fire that had made him so good at what he did. "You're crazy," Sophie said, her voice incredulous. "You really think we can just waltz back in and grab the diamond while the cops are crawling all over that place? It's suicide." Evan's lips curled into a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Not if we play it smart. I have a plan." Sophie raised an eyebrow. "What kind of plan?" "I have a contact who can get us inside," Evan said, his mind already spinning the details. "Someone who owes me a favor. I'll call them, and we'll get the diamond. We just need to stay out of the cops' line of sight long enough to get back in there." Leo's eyes narrowed. "And Maria?" Evan's expression darkened. "Maria will get what's coming to her. She won't get away with this. The trust is gone." The betrayal by Maria had fractured the team, but it also lit a fire in Evan. The game had changed, but Evan was no longer just fighting for a diamond. He was fighting for revenge. The heist was no longer the goal, it was about redemption, and he wasn't going to let Maria walk away scot-free. They were about to dive deeper into a world of betrayal, danger, and deception. With the police closing in and Maria's shadow looming large, the stakes had never been higher. Evan couldn't shake the image of Maria's face as she'd stood there, cold and composed, watching him as everything fell apart. Her smile, the way she'd betrayed them, was etched into his mind. It was as though the entire team had been nothing more than pawns in her game, and now, as the police closed in, it was only him and his fractured crew left to pick up the pieces. "Who can help us?" Sophie's voice broke through his thoughts. Her words were laced with both skepticism and a glimmer of hope. Even she could sense the dangerous shift in Evan's demeanor. He wasn't the same man who had first masterminded this heist. There was a darker edge to him now, and it was clear that he wasn't going to let this go. Evan didn't answer immediately. His mind was already working, calculating risks, evaluating options. He needed someone on the inside, someone who could move undetected. A contact from his old days, an informant, a shadowy figure who owed him a favor from back when Evan had run more underground operations. A man named Malik, a fixer with connections everywhere. He wasn't someone Evan trusted, but desperate times called for desperate measures. He turned his head towards Sophie. "I know a guy. Malik. He can get us back in, but it won't be easy." Sophie narrowed her eyes. "A fixer? Are you sure he can be trusted? After everything that's happened?" Evan gritted his teeth. "Trust me, Sophie, if we don't get back into that building, this job is over for good. We'll be arrested, and everything we've worked for, the diamond, the life I wanted, it'll all be gone." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "Malik's not a friend, but right now, he's our only shot." Leo, who had been unusually quiet, leaned forward from the back seat. His eyes were burning with quiet fury. "What's the plan, then? Get Malik to help us walk through the front door, and then what? Walk in, grab the diamond, and waltz back out like nothing happened." Evan's lips curled into a dark smile, but there was no humor in it. "No, Leo. We're not waltzing anywhere. This time, we do it with precision. We don't just grab the diamond. We'll make sure Maria regrets ever crossing us." Sophie's eyes darted between them, uncertain but willing to follow. "And how do we find her? You think she's just going to sit around waiting for us to come after her?" Evan stared out the windshield, the city lights blurring in his peripheral vision. The plan was taking shape in his mind, one piece at a time. We find her through Malik. He knows people. He has ears everywhere. He'll be able to track her down. Once we have her, we'll make sure she knows what happens when you betray the wrong people." The tension in the car was palpable. For a brief moment, there was no more talk of the diamond, no more planning the heist. It was personal now. Evan wasn't just trying to finish the job. He wanted to send a message that betrayal had consequences. Sophie finally spoke, her voice low but resolute. "Fine. But we need to move fast. The cops are going to be hunting us. We don't have much time." Evan nodded. He knew she was right. Malik would only be able to help them for so long before the police closed in on their every move. The only way to succeed now was to act quickly, decisively. The next few hours passed in a blur. Evan sent a quick, encrypted message to Malik, instructing him to meet at an abandoned warehouse near the docks. It wasn't a place that attracted attention, and it was far enough out of the way to avoid the prying eyes of the police. As they pulled into the darkened lot, the weight of the night's events pressed down on Evan's shoulders. Sophie parked the car in the shadows, and Leo stayed vigilant, watching the road. Evan stepped out and glanced over at his team. He could feel the uncertainty in the air, but he also saw a flicker of determination in their eyes. They weren't giving up, not yet. Malik was waiting in the shadows, his figure barely visible against the dark backdrop of the warehouse. His face was partially obscured by a scarf, and his eyes gleamed with the sharpness of someone who had spent too long in the underworld. "You know," Malik said as he approached, "I never thought I'd see the day when you came crawling back to me, Harper." Evan didn't flinch. He wasn't here to play games. "We need your help, Malik. The diamond and Maria. You get us inside, and we'll take care of the rest." Malik smirked, his lips curling into a half-grin. "I'm listening. But remember, Harper, favors don't come free. I've helped you before. This time, the price might be higher." Evan met his gaze without hesitation. "Name your price." Malik paused, considering the offer, his eyes glinting. "I'll get you inside, but it's going to take some time. The building's crawling with cops, and I don't have all the resources I once did. But if you're serious, we do this clean. No more mistakes, no more amateurs. You pull this off, and I'll get you the diamond. And Maria, I'll make sure she's easy to find." Evan nodded. It was the best deal they were going to get. "We don't need easy, Malik. We need swift." "Then swift it shall be." Malik's grin widened. "I'll have a plan for you by morning. You better be ready." As Malik disappeared into the darkness, leaving Evan and his team to contemplate their next move, the reality of their situation hit home. Time was running out, and everything now depended on the next few days. There would be no more mistakes. No more trust. This wasn't just a job. It was about reclaiming what was stolen, not just the diamond, but their lives, their freedom, and their vengeance.